Putin just announced that he will seek a fifth term as Russia's president. That could keep him in power until at least 2030. The election will take place in March. After winning re-election in 2018, Putin signed a law that paved the way for him to run for 2 more 6-year terms, so for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, the head of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Agency is warning the U.S. that the war in Ukraine could turn into another Vietnam, dragging on for years. He says Ukraine will, quote, turn into a black hole absorbing more and more resources and people. And his comments come as Senate Republicans refuse to back an emergency spending bill that would provide more aid and funding to Ukraine. The bill remains stalled as the GOP demands more funding for border security. President Biden says he is willing to make significant compromises at the border in order to get a Ukraine aid package passed, saying we cannot let Putin win. For more on this, I'm joined by Andrij Dobriansky, Director of Communications and Media at the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Welcome back. What's at risk if Ukraine does not get this funding?
We've heard it time and again from everybody coming over from overseas explaining just the big risk. David Cameron is here. We have the Speaker of Ukraine's parliament, the President's Chief of Staff from Ukraine, Ukraine's Defense Minister. All these people are here in the United States, in Washington, explaining that we can't go through another winter where we had to defend so many attacks on Ukraine's energy stations, on Ukraine's heating supplies. The people in Ukraine are seriously worried. Every conversation I'm having with journalists in Ukraine, because I'm on TV almost every day this week in Ukraine, they are worried personally about their children, wherever they may be in Ukraine, because they don't want to survive another winter like they had last year, where they didn't know which bloc had power for which day of the week. It was incredible to live through last year, and that's what Ukraine is defending against right now. Meanwhile, we have politicians in Washington arguing about UFO policies instead of getting through what we actually need to do, which is help Ukraine now.
Why do you think those risks and the threat is not resonating with Republicans in the House and Senate? Where is the line not getting crossed?
Well, I can tell you personally that I'm assured that the vast majority of congressmen and senators want to support aid to Ukraine, no matter which party they're from. Obviously, as you mentioned at the top of this, we have a number of people who voted against helping Ukraine, and that's never going to, be an easy dinner conversation for any of them if they're visiting Ukraine again, looking into the eyes of the people and saying that I needed to vote against something because of my political considerations. But we do know that this bill will be passed because the vast majority want to support Ukraine, want to support border security, want to support Israel. All of this is in this bill, but that makes it much more complicated to get, past the goal line. I do think that we are going to pass it with the next couple of weeks, but I can't guarantee people in Ukraine that that's going to happen before the end of the year. I do thank Senator John Tester for very forcefully explaining to the press that he's willing to work through Christmas to make sure this happens. But why they're blocking it? It's purely political considerations. And when you're talking about people's lives on the line, that's not going to be an easy conversation for any of these people who voted against it.
Yeah, compromise will be necessary. I want to talk to you about President Putin. He will run for re-election in 2024. I'm guessing you are not at all surprised by this, but what are the implications of it?
It just means same old internationally for the people of that country. That's not going to be any relief for them. We know that they live under horrifying conditions. We heard you mentioned the fact that this country is willing to put up with a lot of a Vietnam-length war against Ukraine. That's just stealing resources from the people of Russia. Those people, their schools aren't being funded, their roads aren't being funded. They live in constant freezing conditions during the winter because their central heating isn't supplied for most of the villages outside of Russia and Moscow and St. Petersburg. So the fact of the matter is, how long do the Russian people put up with all of their opposition leaders and other people being arrested and them not leading a life on the level of other countries? That's for Russians to decide, because they can't be happy about the fact that this man has sent so many of their people to be killed in Ukraine, over 200,000 or 250,000 by most international estimates.
Will anyone challenge him, Andrij?
He has systematically eliminated people who could challenge him. So they are either living in exile, in fear of being poisoned, obviously. They are either completely executed now, And they even go to the extent of looking at local level leaders so that they can never grow up to be national level leaders.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.